So hi, I'm Aslak de Silva, the CEO of Nordic Business Forum, one of the biggest leadership conferences in the world, with about 10,000 people in the audience and more than 20,000 people watching live stream all over the world. But today, I'm going to talk to you about self-development and how you can utilize your full potential with that. I will talk about through how I, as first, was a martial artist. When I started, I was 12 years old. I'm building my dream to become the world champion, which I achieved in year 2000. Then briefly about how I actually utilized the same skills when I was studying, getting the best thesis award at Gothenburg University there. And then becoming now the CEO of being here for a while in the company of the most significant business conference in the world. And what I picked up in that field, so I will now teach you today on those things. I will have some time for questions as well after the speech, so more than happy to answer anything you have in your mind. Now let's start with the martial arts. Probably many of you know Bruce Lee. So he was also saying that learning is a constant process of discovery, a process without an end. So there's no start and end. It's more on the constant process that you build up. It's more about the routines and more about your ambition level than what you actually learn today. So when I started martial arts, I said to you, I was 12 years old. Of course, my goal was to receive the black belt to put around my belt here and waist, so show that I can do something. Quite quickly, I realized when I was a starter with the white belt that if I only trained 2 times a week, so I knew that I would never be the best in the world. I was looking at different people training more and more. So if you saw somebody having a blue belt, so it seemed that they trained more. They trained harder than me when I was a white belt. So I kind of realized that, okay, I was building the goal in my head that, okay, if I want to be a black belt, so what do I need to know actually? What do I need to be capable of doing? Everybody who was advanced level, so they seemed to be stronger than me, they were quicker than me, they were more flexible than you, more techniques. So I started realizing that what if I do that on my own? So if I build my strength, I run more every morning, start training, stretching, and looking at techniques, trying to learn quickly. So what will happen? And I guess you know, so if you start training more and more, putting in more effort, so actually your development becomes quicker. But it doesn't come from somebody only telling you, you need to have the ambition level there too. The next thing, when you're training a lot yourself, I think the best weeks that I was training the hours came to about 40 hours. Of course, then you need to realize that you can't just train more and more, you get more tired, so you need to understand which direction you train. So you have different techniques, you have punch techniques, kicking techniques, throw techniques, all that, so you need to ensure that the quality of everything is there. So first of all, you need to know what you're going to train, and then the next one is that when you train hard enough, you learn quality. A lot of people take mistakes when they come to me and talk about martial arts. They ask that, can you teach me that one trick that works everywhere? So I say that, yes, I can, but you are not able to do that. You are not able to perform before your body is ready for that. So the secret of the whole secret in martial arts is actually you train a lot and then you can control your body. And with that, you can learn techniques that nobody can fight you against. But as you know, so in martial arts, you can't do that alone. So first of all, you need a master, a coach, who will also help you to understand what to train. It's impossible for you in the beginning to understand the scope of the training that you need to do. If you just do running, but you don't know how to run or you don't know why you're running, so it doesn't help you in the long term. You need to put the hours, but still you need somebody direct you. The other thing that actually was key to my success was to find other people who had the same ambition. My hometown, Jyväskylä, when I was training and achieved the world champion in year 2000 in Detroit, Michigan, there were 2 others who also won world championships in that same tournament. So we all 3 trained together for years, pushing each other and driving for that same goal that we had. It was easy to wake up when you knew yourself that there's a team who's also focusing on that. You had a coach who's helping you there. So you need those things too. So when you train with the best, you can become the best yourself. So here are some learnings that you can actually think and take through your professional life as well. So I had a plan. So I wanted to become first a black belt, and then when I was competing, so I wanted to become a world champion. So I set a plan for myself all the time that, okay, what needs to happen? So what do I need to become better at, and train and focus on those things. Then it became more of that the more you train, the more you learn, so you kind of see what works and what doesn't work. So you became kind of honest to yourself that maybe punching isn't my best thing, but I need to know enough, because when you train and try, so then you actually see if it works or not. then I found the people that I work with, so the master that could teach me, the team members that I could train with, that the highest quality was possible for me. The one thing that's often forgotten in these things is that many times when you have a passion of something, so you start sharing your expertise, and when you start teaching others, so that was what I was doing as well. So I had many clubs. I had clubs in Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark where I was teaching myself. So I was passing on the information. So of course I developed new team members to train me with, but at the same time I had to understand myself that what brought me here, what kind of skill set, what kind of learnings I've had. So that's why I became actually better martial artist myself, and actually after that I became to win more competitions when I was teaching others. So these are kind of tips that you can work in your professional life as well. But going from there on, so I when I learned, so then going to the studies. As the opposite of the martial arts, where I was super ambitious about learning more and doing more. So I had super easy when I was waking up and jogging in the morning that I felt that I'd become better. With studies, I had the problem that I didn't have the time to do that. So when I went to high school, so I was already training a lot with martial arts. So I had to kind of cut down the hours that I was spent there. So I was like thinking like, okay, that if I go to school, the teacher must be teaching me something. So what if I pay focus and start learning from the teacher? I might not need to read books that much anymore. So when the others were reading for the exam, so I thought that, wait a minute, why don't I just pay attention in the classroom, and just with that good focus, I'll know what the teacher's going to be asking me about. At the same time, I was taking a lot of notes. So I thought that like, okay, so what if I write the book myself? It's easier to remember. So if you read a book by somebody else, you have different words you might not recognize. You can't think at the same time. Of course, that's fun. But at the same time, I started making notes myself that, wait a minute, that if I do proper notes for myself from the lectures, so actually I have a book to read and that I can easily go back and familiarize. So what I did there was, there was a course of speed writing. So I actually realized that, okay, I take my laptop in the class and write everything as a speech there when the professor or the lecturer was speaking. So I wrote everything down. I tried to by word. So I learned how to think with my fingers and putting them in. So at the same time when I'm writing, so I managed to get the details that were supposed to be asked in the exam. In high school, I saw this well with mathematics. I got all the grades from, well, in Finland, you have grades from 4 to 10. So 4 means that you fail, 5 is the first grade that you pass, and 10 is, of course, being the best. So I got all the grades from 5 to 10 in mathematics. And the difference was that how many classes did I attend to, not about the subject field. So I was quite quick to understand that, okay, yes. So the more I sit in the lecture, so the better I learn. I started paying attention. One funny thing happened when I was at the graduate business school at Gothenburg University. We were working as a group, and my major was international management. One last project before the thesis was about working together as an international group and doing a project for a company. And the company representatives came there into class, and the professors came there and explained that now you have 2 weeks' time to build this project. And the whole class was there, and then we were just left out and said, it's up to you how to fix it. And we got in the kind of a quarrel like that. The people were saying that, yeah, but what was actually the task? Who would do what and there? So then I said that, hey, I have everything written down. I had wrote notes the same way as I normally do in the lectures. And I said to everybody, these are for all you to share, that you can then watch and decide who does what. But what happened there was actually that when I was helping others, so they trusted my leadership. And they said that you need to be the project leader for this one, because we trust that you will actually manage to understand and comprehend everything that we're talking about here. So what happened to me, I became the project leader, did the kind of led the project with the company, then actually wrote the thesis for the company because they liked what we accomplished with as a team. And then I was super motivated, and I had group notes, so it was easy to go for the thesis. And of course, that was a jump start. And then I got the best thesis award with my partner, that we were writing it together. So that kind of helped me to build it up there. And also the learning was there, that the leadership actually comes from having somebody else's back, not for just your own. You can understand that in a competitive environment, often the first thought is that let's keep the information for me, not to share. But then in the big picture, actually by sharing, you actually gain a lot more, at least in this scope that I was talking about. So kind of like the good learnings for me was that I had learned from the martial arts how to work hard. now I learned how to work smart. So kind of like not waste my time there with things that are not, I can also comprehend in a short period of time. I learned how to listen to the focus. So kind of like, okay, somebody's talking, how to write notes and make them in a way that I can also myself learn. So today when I write notes from customer meetings or other meetings, so I kind of say that I write them in a way that they are search engine optimized. So I know how to find information from there. So I make dates there that I can easily find. I use the words that I know that, okay, of course, customers' names, people's names. So it's easy to find those things quickly with my Google Drive docs that I have there. And then, of course, helping others that actually brought me to a different level. So I actually gain a lot more by helping others than just working alone there. But then going back to professional life, so kind of like I have more companies that I work with that are present here, but I kind of want to show you kind of how the development also comes in bits and pieces. So after I graduated, I moved to Ireland and worked there for a while, and then I moved back to Finland with my now wife, and we got married here. So I was starting to look for a job. I made more than 200 applications in time, and nobody called me back. And then one company, they called me back and said that you actually have your wrong number on your CV, so they couldn't call me back. And that company was Media Planet. So I was lucky enough to land a job there. It was a sales job. But I had studied already international management and to the master's level, so I started as a ground salesperson. So I thought that, well, let's work my way up from here. I was happy to get a job, to get something, but I was more ambitious on what I'll be in the future. The same way as I had as a 12-year-old martial artist a goal to become a black belt and even a world champion. The same way when I started my professional career, I thought that, well, someday I want to be a CEO of an international company. I actually said that stock listed company. Let's see if that ever happens. But kind of like I had an ambition level to become a CEO of a company that works in several countries and operates with a lot of people. So that was my goal. But I started as a sales job in Finland, so doing sales to Finland only. So a lot of things need to happen before I can grow to the position that I want to go for. What I noticed in the sales was that if everybody else was making 15 calls, so let's make 10% extra, so 2 calls extra per day, and actually you beat the others in sales quickly, or you can beat yourself. So the little bit extra actually helps you more than you think in the big picture. If you do just what is required, so you can stay in the position. But if you're ambitious and you work hard, you can get that. I also learned that I was studying myself, so sales was the job that I landed because I thought that I didn't have any other skills. I studied international management, I was a martial artist, so I had nothing. I was not an engineer or anything, but who could give some extra insights on something. So I thought that sales is easy, it's just a human interaction. You look in the eye, and then you kind of, like in a fight, see that who's going to win, and then if you win, so you get a sales and so on. And so I started to read about sales books and then testing and learning. So I could get some information on spin selling. So how would that work? So I would test it out on the phone with the customers and in the meetings, how would that work? So kind of testing and learning what would work. And that was super simple because a lot of information around there for sales development. So that was easy to find the books and just develop and the results. So after 8 months of working in the company, I actually was running the Finnish operations and became the country manager of Finland. And then I had 20 people working for me. So quite quick show of results with the kind of focus of development there. Few years later, I end up in Kauppalehti. I'm kind of a business media in Finland. So I was a team leader for a sales team there. So kind of prestige company, a lot of experienced salespeople there. But what I actually learned there was super important for me was to understand that the leadership is not given. It's earned. And what do I mean with that is that even if you have the credential of having a black belt, it doesn't mean that people would think you as a good instructor. So kind of the humbleness came from, so I started to work with the team, not blaming on them with the results, whereas in Media Planet, I thought the person who's coming to the company needs to prove me that they are good, whereas I flipped it around in Kauppalehti thinking that I need to help them to succeed because I knew they were professionals, I knew they can succeed, so it's more on me, on helping them. So I started sharing the information from others, so somebody was saying this works, so I went to the other person saying that this works, so I was just a link in between. But the sales results of the teams, they peaked because of they didn't share the results of others. They didn't share the tips the same way as I was able to help them when they trusted that I'm on their side. So I kind of was the link there and learned a lot in there. Going to Keski-Suomalainen PLC, kind of the stock listed company, I became the sales director for the company, Salesforce being more than 150 people in total. I was taking care of the kind of the national sales of the big group. So what happened was that when you are working with this traditional industry was that customers started telling that they want this and that, but the company was super focused. So for the first time ever, I kind of realized that, that the company is doing something with martial arts and schools, so they are directing you to do something. But then I realized that when people started to talk about Facebook marketing, Instagram coming, content marketing, new things for the company, so often the companies, they shut down, and the big management was saying that, well, they don't believe that this is going to be a business for us, it's more of a threat. Well, what I realized that, even if it's the threat for the company, it's not the threat for me personally, so I should be actually paying more and more attention. So I started learning how you do websites and started understanding Facebook marketing. Why does it work? What do you need to do there? I was asking, that if any of my friends were doing campaigns, can I learn from that? So then I was actually going back to the customer saying that I do understand Facebook marketing, I do understand website development, and I'm talking with them with the same language. So they started to coming for an advice for me, and in the end we actually built it to be a different business unit for the company, not competing with the old products that we had, but just kind of getting on top. So actually customers were super happy getting everything from us because they trusted the competence that I was providing. And this came just from outside looking and understanding that not everything is given to me. I as a person can also take steps forward in learning new things that will be beneficial for the company, but for me as well. In my current role here at the Nordic Business Forum, so the way we work is as a team. The presentation that I did here, so I got a lot of feedback from the team already, kind of saying that, yeah, this might not be something to tell the others there, or let's make this. I get helps with the graphics and everything. So that's why we actually built a better product, which helps me to actually focus on the speech more. And one thing that is good with about Nordic Business Forum is that the ambition level of the goals go. So if you heard this big, hairy, audacious goal, so meaning like what would be kind of a goal that we all are almost afraid of, but still it's something concrete. So back in 2011, actually, a group of people here at Nordic Business Forum sat down and set their goal to become the most significant business conference in the world. So that was the big thing, and I'll show you what has happened since in the next slides there. But the learnings from my professional life here are also kind of like coming, asking and listening. So when you ask questions what you need and then listen to the answers, so you learn a lot and you kind of build the scope for your understanding with others helping you. Working a bit extra is often the easy way to go. I always say that especially if you go to martial arts, so the most stupid way to lose a fight is that you actually lack condition to fight. So kind of like if you don't work outside of the gym enough, so then it's your own fault that if you lose a fight, you would be a better fighter, but you don't have the condition. So the same applies in work environment. If you can make the extra call, be more efficient and everything. So if you work a bit extra, so often that pays off in the long term for sure. In martial arts, you talk about these things that you work 10,000 hours for one thing, and then you are really a master. So I strongly believe in that. So what I myself always do in the morning is I start by learning something new. So I spend 30 minutes per day on learning new things. So in 10 years, if you count that, so that will become a quite strong focus on learning myself. The same way as before, so you test and learn. So when you kind of do a test with your own thoughts before, you learn new skills all the time, and your skill set becomes better. So I would suggest that don't be afraid of failing, but you test and learn. So when you learn, so the failure has already gone away, because next time it will not happen anyway. And look outside. So I know that each of you must be in your own industry, really experts and everywhere, especially if you work in the law, and then you kind of compare it into companies that, okay, the other company is good at that and the customers need that, and many times we kind of come up with excuses telling ourselves that we can't do that. But the reason is that, yeah, the company is not doing, but what if you do that yourself? Then you can learn and utilize that in the next discussion with your peers, colleagues, customers, or whoever, and help them to see the things that they don't normally see. Coming back to Nordic Business Forum, how we work. So in 2010, so there were about 700 attendees in the seminar. And 2011, after the first kind of bigger, over 1,000 people attending seminars, so the goal was to be the most significant business conference in the world by 2021. And there you can see the growth steps. So kind of like this was put in Excel, what needs to happen for us to actually achieve that goal. you know that 2020 was lost because of the corona or COVID-19 situation. We can't arrange it here, but that doesn't change the figures. 2021 is coming, and already we have a like full focus on growing it and make it there. These kind of goals helps us to understand like why do we work. And then of course, our kind of 3 secrets are the teamwork. So we pull everything together. Sometimes we even get those outside people to work in the team, as you see the gray-haired and gray-bearded person there in between. I think he goes by the name George Clooney. So he's also pitching in. So we were all work together to arrange the best possible things. So kind of supporting each other, but trusting also each other on things that we do. The same is with the growth mindset. Whoever works with the company, so we do this goal. So all of us want to be better each day. We want to provide value for customer each day. So when that kind of growth mindset is shared as a team, so that is strong influencer for us. So you don't see here, but on my side there's a library with about 500 or more business books. So anytime anybody can go and read them so that they can learn and share. They can take them home, and a lot of people take them home because they want to kind of know and understand and be quicker than anybody else in learning new things. And one of the biggest secret that we have is that attention to detail. So I said that 10,000 hours working on one thing. So when we arrange the event, so there are at least 10,000 things that we focus on, going to each detail of if the flower looks nice in the table catering, how are the speeches there, and everything. We rehearse, we train, we ensure that every little detail is taken care of. And that is actually the secret of a master also in martial arts, but also in school. So if whatever you do, you work with that kind of attention to detail and ambition level of being the best, so that will help you to succeed. So kind of like what learnings from Nordic Business Forums is make a growth plan for yourself. So decide what you want to be best at and what's the goal. And then you kind of set up the skills and needed things that need to happen. And also the learning. So when I wanted to become the CEO, so I knew when I started as a salesperson that there's not much of finance involved. So I need to learn somewhere myself the finance part that's not related to the job, because nobody else than me actually cares about me becoming the CEO. So I had to learn it on my own and talk to my friends and learn from other people. Staying curious and keep on learning. So that's what is there always. If you read the newspaper, watch TV shows or something. So for instance, for us now in this situation where we can't actually arrange physical events, we are watching a lot of different things on TV, and on webinars, and everywhere, learning bits and pieces from there. How to build a storyline, how to direct the videos in a nice way. What's a good presentation module, sit down, stand up, and all these things we are observing all the time. I'm super curious. We work hard but smart. So of course we need to focus on things that we work on, but we work hard. So we do the extra hours. We all the time pay attention to details where we go. But we also teach and help others. So this is one way of me. I'm helping you to understand hopefully some ways of self-development. So this is important for us, and helping others to succeed is important for us as well. So if you think of a man on the mountain, so as means Lombardi said that the man on top of the mountain just didn't fall there. There are many routes to the top, and there. Some parts you take alone. Sometimes you prepare yourself by studying something that you know what you're preparing for. Sometimes somebody's coming with you and helping there. Sometimes you see somebody in front and you want to catch and all that. So there are many routes to the top, but then of course you are the one who's going to make the route to the top, and you can, when you understand and comprehend what is required from you to make it to the top, then you start working on those, and that's what I call self-development. Thank you. I'm now ready for your questions.
Well, Aslak, thank you very much for this very energetic and useful presentation. We do have a couple of minutes to take some questions as well. And
yes.
So the first one I would like to pass on is the following. You're a former sportsman, but what would be your advice to people who haven't practiced any sports? Can they learn similar principles in some other environment?
Of course, yes. It doesn't. I used to play the violin when I was a child, so I think the same things apply there. So it depends on you. How I think it's more on the passion and working hard to achieve your goal. So that's often in sports. Sports is measured, so that's why it's easy for us to kind of understand have we developed or not. But there are a lot of ways. So I'm pretty sure that all of you have passion for something, and when you have actually worked hard, so you learn from that. So you learn from yourself about how to learn. What does the passion do to you? So it can be anything. It can be culture, it can be reading, or anything that you are passionate about. So that's what I refer to as sports myself.
Okay, very good. And the next question. Would you prefer online workshops to learn, or do you rather turn to professional books? And do you stick to one topic, or are you keeping it versatile?
Well, that is a super complex question. I think I have to say that it changes on various time to time. Nowadays, when I have two small kids, I have hard time of reading a book. It's too slow for me. That's why I nowadays prefer to watch online webinar, seminar, whatever conferences that I think that the speaker is kind of putting in few 20 minutes the whole content of the book, and I learn quickly and make notes of that. But there are times when I prefer to read a lot, because I think that the reading, the wording is so good, and they've been paying so much attention, so there's a lot in between the lines. And the same way when I read, so I actually write the kind of the thoughts that I had, what did I learn from each sentence if I can, but it makes it quite slow, but then in the end I learn a lot. I focus on some areas that I see that I need to develop, but sometimes it's very comprehensive. So I try to go out actually to trainings that I would have no interest, so sometimes even to cooking training. So that just learn something from there that I didn't know before. So sometimes it's kind of easy learning with those that I'm not good at, and sometimes really focusing on that what I should be an expert of.
Okay, so the key may sometimes be just to try out a cooking class. That's a good tip to take away.
Yeah, become hungry already, so yeah.
While our listeners and viewers are submitting further questions, we do have one from Aku as well. So Aku, do you want to ask yours?
My question is, you mentioned a few times taking notes. And my experience on taking notes is that earlier when I was writing notes on paper, it usually ended up in a big mess, because it's difficult to create a structure on paper notes, and it's difficult to follow up on them. So where do you take notes, and what is your advice on taking notes?
Yeah, that is a good question. I used to do that same, and my handwriting was bad, so it's really hard to come back to that. What I'm doing is actually I've built in a way that I've practiced this for years, almost 20 years, is that I know how I think, so I write the way I think, and I make with this kind of 1 to 2 sentences and then another sentence like that. So I put it actually on Google Drive automatically, so then it's easy to find. But I call that, I write with search engine optimized, so I know. So for instance, if I sit with the customer, so I first write the names that these are the people in here, this was the company, so it's easy for me to find the notes, and then I write it in a way that kind of I have a structure. So when I'm doing sales calls, so I have a structure of how to go with that, so I know where to find, so I can write down, for instance, a topic of problems, so what the customer had, then I have solutions that we talked about. So I try to kind of have titles for them where they are. When I'm listening to a speech, so I kind of try to replicate on what I learn at the same time, but try to write what the speaker is saying. So that's why I had to learn the speed writing, so that I can follow it up and make it there. But what I've noticed with anything is that the more you do, the better you get at, and then you see that, oh, these notes that I had 5 years ago were not that comprehensive, so now I can do them better. But I write them with the dates and the names and everything, so it's easy for me to go back. The good example was when COVID-19 happened, so I knew that Jim Collins was talking about this, how to actually manage a crisis. So he was talking about the Stockdale paradox, where prisoners of war, who were the ones who survived, and it was more on that, not the ones that were optimistic that I will get through this situation, but there were the ones who were knowing that they didn't lose the faith, but they were not expecting to get rescued. So I used the same, but I knew that there was that. So I had Jim Collins, I had read his books, I've written his speeches, so I found it there easily, and then I kind of got the plan with my notes, and then I was easy to communicate with the team that this is the situation, we believe that we will get through, we just don't know when, and this is what we learned from that. So that those notes helped me to lead in a better way in these circumstances.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. So here's one regarding Nordic Business Forum. You have seen great leaders on this stage. So far, who is your favorite? And who do you recommend we should follow, read more about, learn more about?
That's impossible. Unfortunately, I've learned a lot from all, and that's what we try to do. So we try to scout the best speakers that will teach us. But what I did, actually, I used to be a customer of Nordic Business Forum, so I'm not a founder. So I was looking at the lineup and then following and reading the books of them. So you can find that information on Wikipedia on our website, who were there, and just glance through and see what kind of ideas. And new ones come all the time. So I unfortunately can't say any particular, just follow. I already know that today you will be hearing great speeches again. So maybe following these upcoming speakers might be valuable for you.
That is a good pointer. And the last one, I'm sure you've given it a lot of thought. What is the one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Yeah, I know that question is asked a lot, but I just say that, like, try hard enough that you are satisfied with what you do. So kind of like, I've lost a fight in martial arts where I was afraid of losing so much that I lost, even though in the end, when I looked at it, so I should have won. So kind of, I think it's more on like that. You can lose sometimes, you don't succeed, but as long as you're happy with the efforts that you put in for that, so that's all that matters. So kind of don't focus on the short term, just live long term and happily. So I hope that this is also seen that I'm actually super happy to talk to you. This is a great day for me. So every day can be like this. So I'm happy.
And we are very happy to have you. Thank you for taking the time and being with us today.
Thank you.